Hey, it's Paige and Reagan. We're here with our Buy Your First Home class series. This session is over identifying your criteria and finding your home.
So this is just a little bit about us. We're Paige and Reagan. We started Buy with Paige and Reagan's first time home buyer program because we're passionate about helping people achieve their dreams of owning a home. We don't think it's talked about enough that you can buy a home a lot sooner than you think you can, and we're here to educate you. It's a big deal buying your first home. Any home you buy is a big deal, but especially your first one, and it's exciting and also always a great investment.
Yeah.
So our goal is to make the process less daunting and provide education and support throughout the entire process.
Absolutely. And this is just a little bit about us. If you've joined any of our other classes, you probably know. We're Buy with Paige and Reagan, but we're part of a team called Rise Realty Group. That is our team up there with all the girls, and then that's me and my boyfriend Boston, and Reagan and her boyfriend Tom.
So this class is based out of the book Your First Home, written by Gary Keller. And we have been we talked about deciding to buy and finding your agent and securing financing. And this week we're talking about identifying your criteria and finding your home. There are 10 steps of the home buying process. And so you can kind of see in this graphic, it goes decide to buy, find your agent, securing financing. And then what we're going to talk about, identify your criteria, find your home. And then there's make an offer, close, perform due diligence, and then what is the next one?
Here's this way.
Oh my gosh, I just can't see. And then move in, and then also enjoy service for a lifetime. So make sure you follow along because every topic has a lot of important things in it.
Right. And if you missed any of our classes or any of those topics that we talked about before, they are linked in our YouTube. So you can go and watch those classes. And then we will have live sessions of the other ones, but we'll have videos of those as well.
So week 1 summary, if you were not in our class, is buying a home will build your equity. Equity is the portion of a home's value that you actually own. Buying a home will also increase your net worth, and net worth is the dollar amount that you get when you add up everything of value that you own subtracted by everything you owe. So basically, it will build you money.
Yes. And then here's some of the most common myths about buying a home. And we went through and busted all those. I won't read them all. We also have TikTok videos if you guys want to see those too. And then this is just a summary about week 2 that was over securing financing and what an agent does for you. So here's the duties that an agent does. And then really about securing financing, the most important thing that we like to say out of that chapter is that a lender will pre-approve you for an amount based on numbers, but really it's up to you to decide what you can afford and what you can pay monthly. Okay, let's jump on in.
Okay, identify your criteria. Looking for homes actually begins with carefully assessing your values, wants, needs for short and long term. So, a buyer's first house is rarely their forever home, and it may not hit all of their desired criteria, but it usually is a stepping stone for their real estate journey. This is a quote directly out of the book, and we wanted to put this in here because we know that when you're buying a house, you want it to be your dream house. However, it's really hard to find your dream house, especially when you're buying your first house. So we kind of want to talk about what things are your needs and what are your wants, what you can compromise on and what you can't.
Right. And then two, that's a great point. And it's a compromise, but it's not like you have to give up things. It's just what are some things that you can do to a house on your own, and then what are some things that maybe you can save for later in your next home. Like for example, a hot tub. I would love to have a hot tub at my house. My first house doesn't have a hot tub. It would probably be later on down the road when I get that. So just an example.
Yeah, so your home wants and needs criteria are location, size, condition, appreciation, neighborhood, freestanding or condo or townhouse, duplex, resale, new construction, that genre, features and amenities, and then potential for expansion or improvement.
And really, when you're creating your criteria for buying a home, it's really based all on your values and your lifestyle. And so, do you really value privacy? Do you need a house that's not super close to neighbors? Do you love to spend a lot of time outside? Do you need a back porch? I mean, just things like that, all about your lifestyle and what you value most. So keep that in mind when you're building that criteria.
Yeah. So let's get clear about your criteria. What do I want my home to be close to? What do I want my neighborhood to be like? So proximity are like if you work at a hospital and you have to be 10 minutes away, that would be where you need to be. The geographically desirable to you, close to your job, your school, maybe you want to live near your family. And then your character of the home is like, do you want a neighborhood that has parks? Do you want to live on acreage that has no neighbors? That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out what you want those ways, so we can start narrowing down at least just the area you want to be in.
Right. And there's just two ways to think about location there. So it's like, what is it close to? And then what does the actual location look like? So keep that in mind. The second thing is how much space do I need and what do I need that space for? So it's really important not to judge your space by the number of bedrooms a house has, because you can have let's say a 3-bedroom house, a 3-bed, 2-bath house. You can have a 3-bedroom house that is 1,200 square feet, and you can have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that is 4,000 square feet. And that's a big difference. So whenever you're looking for size, kind of gauge it off of square footage, not just bedrooms. And then what do you need that space for? So if you work from home, you probably need some kind of office or space to do that. So we need to be looking for those things, and you may need an extra bedroom or a specific office set aside. So that's just an example. But what do you really need that space for, and how much of it do you need?
Okay, and then the third thing is what is more important, location or size? So, would you prefer a smaller home in a nicer area or a larger home, even if the neighborhood isn't as fashionable? The nicer the neighborhood, the more expensive typically. Some people may choose to live in a small home in a nice neighborhood, and others may choose a space in an older area because they get a bigger house. So,
Mm.
we see that a lot here because we're located in Oklahoma City, and there's so many different neighborhoods in Oklahoma City, and some the exact same house would be 300 and somewhere it could be like 200. Just depends where you are.
Just
So
depends where it is. Yeah. So then another question to ask when you're building the criteria to find your home is, would I be interested in a fixer upper? Now, let's be really clear around what a fixer upper is. TV makes it look really easy. Joanna Gaines, love her. They flip houses like crazy. It's a lot of work. And so when we talk about fixer uppers that you're going to be moving into, unless that's an investment goal for you and actually what you're doing, we're talking about very minor things to fix. We want to make sure that your house has really good structure and bones. So we're really not talking about fixing up major items like your HVAC or having to take out walls or do crazy things like that. It's like, hey, this house was built in 1980s and it's a little outdated. Can we do some painting to make it more modern? Can we paint our cabinets? Things like that is what we're talking about when we say fixer upper. So do you need something that is really nice, updated, and modern, or are you okay with doing some upgrades on your own?
another question is, what kind of property should I buy? So there's more than just the typical single family house. There's townhomes, there's condominiums, there's duplexes, and more. And so we actually know some people who do buy condos because they want to be in a high rise in the middle of the city and you can't find a house there.
Right.
Or sometimes if your budget's lower, you can afford a condo, but you can't afford a home. There's just a lot of different options, but
Something too is maintenance. A lot of
yeah.
people choose condos or townhomes because of maintenance, because you're typically not required to mow your lawn or do landscaping and things like that. So that's something to think of too. Just
Another one that is interesting is duplexes. My goal is to buy a duplex and rent out half. that way they're helping me pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who duplexes aren't very common, but I know a lot of people who are interested in that. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah, and if that is something you're interested in, it's called house hacking. We know a little bit about that, and we'd love to share or talk more about it. So if you are interested, be sure to reach out in that kind of specific niche of buying. Okay, so another question is, would you be interested in a new construction home? So there's a lot to love about new construction. Obviously, they're brand new. You're not going to have any maintenance or issues with the house for a long time because all your systems are new and they're usually under a warranty for a specific amount of time. And then also, a lot of people think maybe new construction is out of reach. I know here in Oklahoma, we have quite a few builders who are pretty affordable. I know one, Roush Coleman, they actually have a really affordable kind of first time home buyer friendly floor plan and prices. So that's just an example of something. Don't think new construction's out of the range for you just because it's too expensive because it's new.
Okay, one of the last questions is, what features do I need? What amenities do I want? So your lifestyle is what comes to play during this part of the needs analysis. And so what do you need? So age, style, bedrooms, bathroom, living and dining, the square footage we kind of talked about, the kitchen, the storage, the parking. Do you need a garage? Do you need a big kitchen because you cook 8 meals a day? Do you not really care about the inside, but you want a huge backyard? Those are the kind of things that you need to determine, especially like, do you have pets? Do you need a backyard? Some houses don't really have a lot. They just kind of have like concrete backyards, So those are the things you need to think about. Sometimes you won't really think about that, but and then amenities are like Paige said, if you work from home and you need an office, or if you need an extra room to have a playroom for your kids, or you have a bunch of gym equipment and you want to have a workout room. Sprinkler systems, we see them a lot here just because it gets so hot in the summer.
Yeah.
But do you want one of those? And so there's so many, and we could just go on and on. But you got to think about exactly what you need and want for your lifestyle. And what we normally tell people to do is write them down in priority order. So if number one is I need a 2-car garage, that's your number one, and you're not going to come off that.
Right. But you would like a fireplace in the living room. That's probably not one of our priorities. And I think that that's really the difference is like a feature is like what the home has. And then an amenity is like an extra. So amenities are usually going to be those wants, and the features are like, what does it have to have for me to buy it?
Yeah. So
Okay, sorry.
No, we're both reading.
Okay, so the next one is, what does my home have to have and what does it have to have potential for? We've kind of touched on this. I said a little bit earlier, like making some minor cosmetics upgrades or things like that. So there's a ton of changes and alterations you can make whenever you have a property. One of the cool things about owning a property is that you get to actually personalize it. It's not like rent where you have to follow a landlord. You own that house, you can paint it whatever color you want, you can do whatever you want. So you get to personalize it, and that's really exciting. So if we have a home, let's say it's just kind of bland, the walls are white, everything's just bland. You can decide, does it have the features I need? Is it enough bedrooms? Is it enough space? Is it in the right area? And then maybe some of those style choices, what can you have potential for? Could you change the paint colors? Could you add a fireplace or a mantle or something like that? Those are things to think of. And I think now more than ever, DIY projects are like everywhere.
Yeah.
You can figure out how to do pretty much anything in your house on your own on a budget. So think about, it doesn't have to have all of those amenities or style choices. Make sure it has what you have to have, and then figure out what you could do later.
Yeah. And a lot of your wants are not going to be something that the home does have. But like Paige said, as long as you have the potential, like let's say you want a big back porch and it doesn't have a back porch, but you have the space in your backyard to build a back porch, can you settle doing that? Can you not? Yeah. So of all of my wants and needs, which are the most important? I guess I already said this, but this is when you're going to write them down and you're going to prioritize them. You're going to sort through and decide what's the most important. You're going to decide what need is a must-have and what is like just a want. Obviously, we want to find you a house that has every single thing you want, and hopefully we can, but sometimes it's just not an option.
Right.
But yeah, before you choose a house, make sure it meets the top 3 or 4, whatever they are for you. If they're really important, there can be 4 or 5, and then make sure it meets your budget too. So if you have a lower budget, you might have to be okay with doing some of the work yourself, kind of like Paige said, like painting, changing out carpet. And there's a lot of things too. I don't know. I could go on a rant about this, but basically you just need to make sure your important things are met, that your budget is met or under. And then from there, you have to be okay with being able to make it your own, which is actually almost more
It's
exciting than
fun,
buying the
yeah.
house.
Yes. And I think too, keep in mind, like we said earlier, your first house, you may make compromises. It probably isn't going to be your dream house, but it's not meant to be your last. And so what we're teaching you is to buy a house, period. Whether it's beautiful or not, buy it and hold on to it because it'll make you money and you can turn around and sell that to buy a nicer house, or you can keep it, rent it, that's income. I mean, there's plenty of things, but just keep in mind that first house, it's a first house. So
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so now you've established your criteria. What is next? Well, we're going to need to sit down with an agent. So now that you have an idea of what you want, what you're looking for, what your priorities are in a house, you're going to need to find an agent and meet with them. If you're in Oklahoma, you have us. We'd love to help you. If not, we'd love to help you find an agent in your area. But it's really important to have a buyer's agent who represents you and you sit down for a consult so that they understand your wants and needs and can help guide you to find that property. So during that conversation, your agent's gonna help you understand the kind of houses that you're looking for. How fast are they selling? Are you going to end up in a multiple offer situation? Are you likely to? What can you expect when you're making an offer? Just all of those things around that specific kind of house you're looking for. So that's really important to not skip that consult.
Okay, the fun part, find your home. So finding the right home to make an offer on is a 4-step process. Step 1, determine the houses you want to see. So keep your eyes open and your agent in the loop as you look for listings. As agents, we will set you up on a customized search in the MLS, and then it's going to send you properties that meet the criteria that you give us. Sometimes we also will look at Zillow for sale by owners, just to make sure we're seeing every single option there is for you. We know you guys are going to be looking too. So anything you like, send it to us. We'll find out as much as we can about it. And then we're going to decide the houses we want to go see. Also, the MLS, I don't know if I explained it, but it's the multiple listing service. We can see properties before they even hit the market sometimes. And so that's why it's important to work with someone who is working with you, because we can find you the perfect house. We'll go deep searching.
We have the tools and the services and the training to do so. Something that I think is really important to note, Zillow is amazing. It's a great tool. Like she said, we do use it, but Zillow pulls its data and its info on houses straight from the MLS. And so sometimes they get a little mixed up whenever they're transferring. So just any info that you get straight from your agent or the MLS is going to be the most accurate. So just keep that in mind too. Okay, so the second step in finding your home is to actually start checking out those homes that fit your criteria. So when you're walking through houses, it's really important. You're going to be, I want to say overwhelmed, but you're going to be noticing a lot of things. You're walking through a house, you're looking at, the style of it. Does the floor plan work for you? Do you like the bedrooms? Do you like the area? All of those things that you're noticing. So that's your job. Does it stack up to your wants and needs? Your agent's job, we're also looking at those things. Does it fit your needs? But we know about its competition. We know the market conditions for the area. We understand what's going on in that neighborhood to know kind of where prices are at, if it's overpriced, if it's underpriced, if you're walking into a multiple offer situation, all of those things. So we're looking for major problems with the house, anything that we've noticed, any cracks, or hey, your roof kind of looks old, anything like that. We're paying attention to those things. So it's really important at the end of each showing, compare notes with your agent and listen to their opinion, because we often do, if we see something that we think, hey, this could be a concern, we're going to point it out to you. So that's just a thing to go through whenever you're looking there. Your agent has your back. We're always looking out for things in the house, and we have a little bit of that knowledge that you may not know. So make sure to compare notes, and then work smarter, not harder. This is important. There are 1,000 houses out there that you could go see, but why would we go look at something that doesn't fit your criteria? So let's really narrow down that criteria so that we know the homes we're going into are ones that you're actually going to like, and we're not wasting time. The fewer houses you look at, the easier it is to make a decision because they're better for your criteria. So it makes the process smoother.
The third step is to create a system to refine as you go. We like to ask at the end of every showing for you to rate the house on a scale of 1 to 10. Can't choose 5.
5 is never an option.
Just to narrow down what you do and don't like. So if we see one that's an 8 and the other 3 we see are 4s, we're going to take a second look at the 8 because it probably seems a lot better after seeing 4s. And those are mental notes for your agent just to have. We also recommend you take pictures, videos, mental notes, real notes, whatever you can do of each home. Because after you see a few, they do start to blur together.
Especially if you go showings in a couple in a row in one day.
Yeah, there's been times where I don't even remember one of the houses I went in because there's just like 6 of them. So,
right. And you're probably looking at houses that are similar because it's in your criteria. So,
yeah. And we're going to be asking you questions, any agent, but like we'll be asking you questions as we walk through the home to kind of get your unbiased opinion. And the questions that we ask will hopefully trigger something in you that you might not think about. Like, oh, we noticed the cabinets do this or this. How does that affect you? And then sometimes you'll be like, oh, I don't like that at all. Or actually, I don't care anymore because now that I see it, I'm like, cool.
right.
And so, yeah.
No, absolutely. And one thing that I always notice is like street noise because a lot of people don't think about that. And when you're looking at a house, it's not always the first thing you notice, but I always notice it and I always ask, we're standing outside. Do you hear the street? How do you feel about that? And that's something that maybe you don't even think about, but that's just an example of like questions. We're trying to help you and help us understand how these houses stack up so we can guide you to the right one. So once we do all that, we've looked at all these houses and we find that house that we want to make an offer on. We'll talk more in depth on this in our next session, but that's really where your agent goes to work from you. And don't overthink making an offer. Making an offer is just an offer until it's signed. And so if you find a house, like she said, if we're looking at houses and they're 4s, 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 and there's an 8, you usually don't find a 10 unless you build it. Mm-hmm. And so that 8 is probably a good contender. And if you like it and it meets your criteria, don't overthink it. Let's make an offer. And we see that a lot. People hesitate. And sometimes it causes someone to lose the home or to wish that maybe they had moved faster. Obviously, we don't want you guys to rush into anything. If it's something that you don't feel comfortable with, don't make the offer. But don't overthink liking a house. Yeah. So
trust your gut.
Yes. Okay, well, that's all we have for this session on finding your home and identifying your criteria. We do give away free copies of the book that we base this class off of. So if you guys would like to enter in that drawing, text that phone number, and we can get you entered to win one of our free books.